Welcome to On the Marc.
On the Marc.
On the Marc.
Open mic.
Open Marc.
Open Marc.
Welcome to On the Marc podcast, brought to you by Great Southern Bank. We'll be opening the door to the lives of your favourite baggers, just like Great Southern Bank is here to help you open the door to your own home sooner. Now, what a special treat we've got today. Captain of the footy club, former teammate, Brownlow medalist, Northampton boy, ball magnet, and champion in every sense of the word. Binga, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, Bing. It's nice to be on the Marc podcast.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tongue twister, that one.
Now, we'll start there, Binga. Where's the nickname come from? We call each other Binga,
Yeah.
and still, I've got no idea how it started. Maybe you can shed some light.
No, I think we're watching. I think me and Fish were watching Brett Lee highlights one day, and
As you do.
him coming down, ripping through don't know, it might have been the Palms, and then giving the chainsaw, and then we just started watching him. I reckon you walked past once, and then sure enough, we started calling each other Binga.
Have you pulled out the chainsaw?
Nah, I haven't quite. Yeah, I'm waiting for a good snag to pull out the chainsaw.
I'm waiting for a snag.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just there's three Bingers, me, you, and
And little Binga Fisher.
little Kev. Is it Kev?
Kev, yeah. I don't even know.
Don't know. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know why it stuck, mate. But, yeah, that's the only time I get Binga.
Yeah, I actually had Walshy on ABC radio on the weekend after the game, just talking to him about some of his celebrations. And he's got a bag stacked full of celebrations from EPL and NBA, NFL players. Do you have anything that you like to go back to? Anything in the kit bag once you kick a big goal? Other than the Benny Cousins one, I know you love a Benny Cousins
Yeah.
tribute.
No, I don't. To be honest, I don't even know. Half the time, the boys give me a bit of flack. Especially Fish. You reckon every time I kick a goal, I'll just go straight for the crowd and run through about five guys, five of my teammates. But no, I don't know. I think the fist pumps. I reckon everyone's got a stock standard one that they do just out of habit. Mine's usually the fist pump, but yeah, I don't know. It's always good when you kick an unexpected goal on the run. You never know what comes out. What was your best one?
No, it was pretty boring. Yeah, I love Benny Cousins' little celebrations growing up. So I'm similar to you with the old, the finger twirl.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually just never thought of it. I'd always run to my teammates other than running to the crowd like you. But anyway, we digress. Now, Binga, drafted in 2013 and debuting in 2014. I still remember Shane Rogers, our head of recruiting at the time, and he showed me some vision of you when you were playing under 18s. And a few things that stood out to me were unbelievable hands, great in congestion, just love the physical side of the game. And he said he'll be here to get you through for the next 10 years and be the man to help out with. Juddy's getting a little bit older. This is the next big thing. And then I saw you when you first turned up to the footy club and it was chicken legs. And I was like, this bloke, surely not. But then after seeing you it might have been 2 or 3 sessions, I knew how good you were going to be. I knew that mentally you wanted to be the best. Can you talk to me about that initial draft period, coming over to Melbourne, obviously a Northampton boy growing up there, but obviously going to school in Perth as well, but your first impressions of the football club and life in Melbourne?
Yeah, it's I definitely wasn't in the great nick when I rocked up, but I had a year out of school. So we in WA we finished school when we were 17, or we did back then. So I had a year of just going to uni, lived with my older brother in Perth, and just played Colts and had a great year. So I definitely didn't come in and didn't understand what it took to play elite level. I reckon you see guys come in now and they're sort of ready to go. I reckon the pathways are definitely have got a lot more advanced. But first impressions, I remember we did a bike session on the first day, and you had to give an half air. I gave it a 9, and most of the older boys gave it a 3. I was that tired. But like your first year, it's just honestly you train, eat, sleep, and I was knackered. First year, I reckon I floated. I was just sort of in awe of the whole sort of how big the club was, playing AFL, which is something you dream of. And then it wasn't until the end of my first year, I just realised I was carrying a bit extra fat that. Which has a lot of guys still do, but just that puppy fat of a younger person. So, end of my first season, got really strict with my diet and my training. I remember chatting to Andrew Walker about what he did and little diet tips and all that. And I remember I came back. I think I lost 5 kilos of fat and put on a kilo of muscle, and that just transformed transform my whole career. I look at that as a bit of a light bulb moment. But it's when you're in WA, you'd say the Eagles or Dockers. You come over here, it's a massive club. Even now, sometimes you pinch yourself in a way, but there's just so many Carlton supporters out there. So when you're going well, like we did early last year, it was just the energy around the club then was something I've never seen before. So we're getting back to that now, which is good.
So 2014, you talked about that year, and then in the off season, changing a lot in terms of your diet and your preparation. Was there a moment when you started to believe, "Oh, I'm more than good enough to play at this level as an AFL player"? Because I think every player, doesn't matter where you're drafted or where you come from, there's a moment when you go, "Oh, I'm good enough at the level." But was there a game where you thought, "I can be great"?
There was a game in the pre-season. It was a NAB Cup thing. It was back then. We played Geelong at Etihad or Marvel. And I played against Joel Selwood for a lot of the day, and I ended up having a lot of the ball that day. And that was the first time, hang on, I'm actually held it against one of the greats. And then the first few games that year, I remember this was 2015, played forward, then I got dropped, and then
was that over in Subi?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, so I was laid out with a sore back.
The ground was too big apparently,
too big for me,
and you couldn't cover the grass.
Yeah.
So, I still remember how dirty you were after that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a blessing. In a way, you're sort of sliding doors moments. We got smashed that day. If I played and we didn't play well, we would have been the first out. So it's funny how things work out. But then we played Essendon the next week. Juddy got injured that game, and the week after that was against St Kilda in Auckland when we played over there.
Yep.
And because Juddy was out, I got more midfield time that day, and that was probably my breakout game. And we won that day. I think you got the medal that day.
I think you're right.
Yeah, he played well. There was actually an earthquake over there when we were over there. I still remember
that.
I still remember big Cam Wood. He reckons he was on the toilet when it happened. Mate, it was good banter there. But that was a time where I'm like, all right, I've actually had a few good games within a 6-week period here. I think I can actually have a really big impact. And I started to, like you said, you have those games where you go, you're happy playing AFL to think, oh, geez, I'm actually good enough to belong here. And that moment there, just my confidence level grew. And then since then, it's just always finding little ways to get better and keep building on the habits you've sort of done in the past. But it's funny. Every year you try and find different ways to improve. But that moment there was definitely the moment where I'm like, all right, I belong at the level.
And I've spoken to you about this, off air a number of times about marking yourself against the best. Who are the players in the comp that you look at week to week, or whether it's every month, and see what they're doing and compare yourself against them?
Yeah, I reckon I used to compare a lot younger. I reckon early on you draft guys. We had a great draft like Josh Kelly, Bonapelli, Merritt. There's a lot of more midfielders. We had a big midfield draft. And as you get older, it's sort of you sort of compete. I used to always look at contested possession clearances. They're the two stats I really pride myself on. Now I just sort of I don't really like to compare, because sometimes I feel like when you compare so much, you sort of you stop appreciating what they do in a way. You know what I mean? You nearly so now I actually just love watching players and sort of just seeing how good they are, and then I try and pick apart little components of their game that I can add to mine.
Yep.
I love doing that. So, whether, it's watching, Lockie Neal going through traffic, use his hands, or, Bont's ability to provide shape and go at the game, Oliver's hands, they're the guys I love watching. The guys I still watch, without picking them, without trying to compare, the guys I love watching play, the guys like Bont, Oliver, Lockie Neal, all the guys that are really good at sort of inside, outside, around that contested side of the game. So there's a lot more I like to watch. Petrarca, guys that are at the elite level that can, turn a game. So even watching Nick Dacos now, it's good watching him. Get to train with Walshy. He's someone that's a freak that you sort of very different players, but the way he attacks it is something you always watch and try and pick apart.
Do you remember who you looked up to or wanted to emulate when you were younger? Who was the poster on the wall that you went to bed at night and thought, I want to be that player?
I love Benny Cousins, but I'm a very different player to him because he's a really good runner. I used to the guys I watched, I used to Pritis, Joe Watson, Josh Kennedy, Fife, Dangerfield. They're probably the 5 guys I just picked apart in my first couple of years. I just watched always watched their highlights every game, especially their stoppage craft, and then tried to stoppage craft, their marking, and where their running patterns were, and then I just tried to find a bit of a way that how could I pick the best parts of their game and add to mine. Joe Watson's probably the one I loved, and then the battles I loved the most was probably against Josh Kennedy. His craft around the stoppage was unreal, so I learned a lot playing on him.
If saving for a deposit is taking forever, stop saving harder and start saving clever with Great Southern Bank. Their clever tools such as the Boost and the Vault help you save for your deposit faster. Visit greatsouthernbank.com.au/clever to learn more. Great Southern Bank, happily clever after. Being just improvement over the last 2 games. Like, I've been sitting there in the crowd watching the first one against the Suns, and then was on radio against the Hawks on the weekend. What have been some of the changes or adjustments that have been made over the last couple of weeks, or has it been something that's been progressing over the last couple of months, and only now you're starting to see the benefits and getting the rewards of winning games of football as a result?
I think I reckon the best thing is we've had a lot of people say what's the energy like now you've won a few, and the energy hasn't really changed. Like, that's one thing. Throughout the whole time, the energy at the club's been high. The guys have been working so hard, so that hasn't really changed. I've been trying to have a lot of fun around the club, purpose of training, just create an environment people love to come to work. So I reckon that's been there all year, but it's just nice now. It's always nice when you do get a result, get some reward for effort. I think we just simplified a few things as players. Coaching staff did a great job of giving us a game plan to build off. But I think a lot of guys were sort of, just overthinking little things, and we just kept it really simple lately. Built off pressure, trying to be a really good teammate, have as much fun out there, and play to your strengths. And it's amazing when you bring that pressure. We've hardly really talked about offense in the last couple of weeks, but you build your game off pressure, and all of a sudden you get so many good opportunities. And I think what's stood out to me in the last couple of weeks is just how unselfish the group's been, especially inside forward 50. We've had a lot of square ups. Everyone gets a lick, and then just creates good energy. That stuff's contagious when you're pressuring the opposition, you're getting after them, and you're sharing the ball around. Guys are so happy to be out there, and it's just infectious, and it's been good fun the last few weeks. So we feel like we've got a real clear framework of what we can keep getting after going forward. Yeah, well, it was certainly noticeable. Like, I sat there on the weekend, and not that it hasn't happened previously, but you were seeing guys who were just giving the ball first time, rewarding the runner, giving it to someone in a better spot, forward half, and giving someone else an opportunity to have a touch of the ball and kick another goal. Like, even your one to Fogs. Yeah. Like that, not that you wouldn't do that initially, but I think just bringing other guys into the game, it just makes everyone feel a lot better, and you can just see that enjoyment on guys' faces. And I think a lot of Carlton fans would have sat there on the weekend and seen that. How do you keep that going week to week and try and just build off that? I think it's just making sure you highlight the small acts, like the stuff that people don't see or don't highlight externally. We've got to keep valuing that internally, and that's where we've done a great job. And then it's just that hunger, like the selfless attitude has been there. We've got to keep that alive, and that's the stuff we'll highlight internally. The other stuff is just keeping it really simple. Like, let's get after the opposition, let's pressure them, and we know as a team our strengths in the contest. We've got a lot of guys that can win their own ball, and then we've got a lot of different weapons, and how can we keep utilising that? And as you saw on the weekend, Big H and Charlie were great up forward, but then you look at the additions of Jackie Martin, Fogarty, Cunners, like they just add a different dynamic to us up there. And O'Banny always has done a great job all year, so we feel like we've got a lot of weapons up there now, and even around the midfield we feel like we're starting to really get our power back and contested sort of force out of there again, which is it's always good fun when it's like that.
Just on those 3 guys you talked about, Jack Martin, certainly his best game for the year. David Cunningham, obviously coming off that knee and had a long time out. Fogarty as well, who we know, I loved playing with Fogs because he's just a really good team man. You know what you're going to get from Fogs. Just seeing those half-forward flankers having impacts on games certainly takes the burden off everyone else, especially the midfielders.
Yeah, well, I think it's always it helps when we've moved the ball really well the last few weeks. But I think what their game's been built off, everyone talks about the offensive impact, but what they brought defensively, like Jackie Martin hits as hard as they can. Fogarty's so disciplined with what he does. He's really smart. And, Cunners just does stuff that not many people can do. So they just all add a different dynamic, but all their games have been built off the pressure first, and then you see their strengths offensively come out. So, mate, it's great to see guys that have been grinding away in rehab come out and have impact, and for them to come out and have impact straight away from rehab just shows you that, they've done the work when they've been in it. And
What's your role as captain in that, with guys coming back from rehab and then, coming back through the VFL, and then when they get their chance at AFL level, it's hard to be across everyone's program, but as captain, do you lean on your vice captains, the other leaders around the football club? Is it something you constantly have to check in with yourself to make sure you're getting around to as many guys as you possibly can?
Yeah, I just try and make sure I always have conversations with everyone, just whenever I walk past them, check in, making sure across the leadership we have a touch point with everyone across the whole group. So when we catch up, just to make sure they're going okay, and do we need to follow up? But and then it's just building them full of confidence. Like my thing I love about leadership is how can I make guys believe and feel confident. Obviously they got to do the work and first, but if you can make them feel good, really reinforce what their strengths are, and then when you see them, really execute that, just pump them up, sort of reward the behaviour, because it's like, maybe you feel good, you're going to play good, and these guys, all those guys that we've talked about, work hard, and when you work hard, good things come your way. So yeah, it's nice to see them get rewarded for effort. And, there's a lot of other guys that haven't been injured that have come in and played some really good footy for us. So we're just playing team footy, mate. We're playing a hard brand of footy. So, it's exciting for the next few games that what we can get after the next teams.
And through periods of adversity, you learn a lot about yourself and your teammates, who's up for the fight. What have you learned about your captaincy during even the last 18 months? Like last season, starting off the season so well as a team, you win a Brownlow, and then this year starting off really well again, and then having that period of really tough times. What have you learnt over the last little period?
Yeah, look, as much as your adversity is hard to go through, you 100% learn the most about yourself and people around you. The biggest thing what the group's done really well is we've kept really unified. And when you play for a big club, things don't go well. It's easy to be distracted by the external. And what we've done really well as a leadership group, as a club coaching group, is just how do we keep making this place a fun place to work, have a positive sort of environment that people love to come, keep getting after it. And now you won 2 games, people are, the Blues are starting to go well again, but it actually never wavered, our sort of the culture at the place, and that's what I'm most proud of. From an individual point of view, the thing I probably learned in the last 6 weeks is I always talk about it is never let someone else take the joy away from what you do. And there's this little perspective thing I just kept reminding myself, instead of why is this happening to me, is why is this happening for me? What is this trying to teach me this period? And the thing I reckon it taught me the most is, keeping the group together, but never lose the joy in what you do. We all grew up, we all got inspired by a team or a player growing up as a kid. We love playing footy. We love playing with our mates. And then sometimes when you go to elite environment, when there's so much distractions, they can take away that joy from what you love doing. End of the day, I still love coming out and having a kick. I love playing in front of big crowds. I love playing with the boys, all trying to do that to achieve a common goal. That's what, sometimes you can get distracted by. So just really narrowing on that, and that perspective sort of shift and finding the joy in through tough times is probably what I learnt the most during this time.
And how do you, obviously you're experienced and you do a lot of investment in yourself and a lot of reading, but how do you communicate that to your teammates? Because there's obviously a lot of young guys amongst us. There's a lot of guys who don't think necessarily like that, because a lot of guys think of themselves as just a footballer. How do you talk to them, is it individually or is it as a group or both, about how to get away from just thinking about themselves as, well, I'm a footballer and we lost on the weekend and I'm no good?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the part of maturing, because as a kid, all you want to do is play footy, but it's what we do. It's not who we are. Watched a bit of Ted Lasso actually through that period, which is, I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso, but great show. If anyone hasn't watched it, I recommend it. That would be the thing that you got to keep sort of preaching to the guys. But I think the most important thing during that time, like I know I've been banging up, but like, how do we sit together? How do you build good habits throughout the week? Like, you set goals for the week, then you got to peel it back. All right, what do I got to do each day throughout that week to do that? And then I think the biggest thing is like how do you control? Like, what's the controllables? So like we can't control anything that's been said about us. Like, all we control is how we rock up, the training we do, how we sort of enjoy each other's company. So like, if you keep controlling that, then all the other rest is just a distraction you don't need. So they're the things we sort of talk about, and then to create an environment where let's keep having fun, let's keep getting after it. Things will turn if we have the right habits and the right energy and have a positive outlook. Then things will get better. So it's nice to get through that period. I feel like as a group we learn a lot about ourselves, and now we feel like we've got a really clear framework going forward as players and as coaches to get after the back half of the year. Yeah.
I want to ask you about the coach, Vossy. He was the reason why I started wearing number 3 when I was a kid. And I would have loved the opportunity to work underneath him. Your relationship with the senior coach, how have you enjoyed that over the first 18 months? Some periods of really some heights. There's been some lows, obviously, but how have you enjoyed that relationship and building that?
It's been unbelievable, mate. He's obviously been a great leader of men for so long. One of the greatest captains of all time. So in a way, he's just been a sounding block and a mentor for me. And the experience he's had, he's experienced it all. So he's been great just to give me little tips along the way.
Do you understand that the support from captain and coach is also so important as well? Like, there's no doubt he'd love your feedback. And do you check in with yourself about that as well?
Yeah, like we're really transparent with how we pretty honest with each other, and we try to catch up weekly and just get a feel of the group and how we can sort of set what's the intention of the week, how can we set the energy for the week, and but at the same time, really honest conversations with what we feel, and that's what's been really great about it. But he's been great for the club in the 18 months. He's came at a time and really steadied the club and provided great leadership, and not only him but other coaches as well, and the whole sort of footy department. But he's just I know he's really clear in what he expects. He's really clear on the game model he wants. He really empowers people around him to do their role, which stands out and puts a lot of trust in people around him. But I think his biggest strength is just he's so honest, and his relationships with people. He's just a great communicator, so you know exactly where you're at. He'll build a relationship. When it's time to work, it's time to work. When it's time to have fun, he has fun. So what's really impressed me in the last 6 weeks, when you learn about, when things get challenged, is just his positivity and his energy. He's just rocked up. You wouldn't know anything different. He's rocked up with the same attitude and got on with it and made people feel good. So now we're starting to see the benefit, from his energy. Now we've won 2 in a row, but I've been really impressed with how he sort of handled himself through a pretty tricky spot there for a few weeks.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his speech that has been displayed over social media over the past week about perspective and about the next generation, and just getting guys to think about that as well, and just adds that little bit of perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, we talk about it a fair bit, but it's we were inspired, like I said before, by players, and when you're at a big club, tribal Carlton is, like there's an army out there that just love getting to the footy. And the best thing about what I've noticed in the last 18 months especially is so much more kids coming to the footy. You can see these kids really growing with this group. So the more kids I see at the footy, it brings a smile to my face, and that's what you play for. And we had a few clinics here last week for all the young members, and there was a lot there, and their energy was high. So to inspire them and make them sort of really get back to the footy is cool to see.
Certainly is. Be honest, how many number 30s compared to number 9s or 18s were there out there?
There's a couple of 9s, yeah. There's a lot of 30s and a lot of 18s. Those boys are going well. So I think the 9s must have sold out. So I'm only joking. There was definitely a few 9s. So I still remember the first 9 I ever saw. It was in 2015, and it's sort of a weird feeling when you ever see a kid with your number on the back. But it's something I really take. I suppose a lot of pride in, and it's a pretty cool moment when you've had impact on a young kid that you've never really met. So. I've always loved to play with passion, love playing with energy, and play the right way. And it's cool when kids see that, and they want to put their number on the back because of it.
Do you know what's even better, Binga? when you see a bloke who's older than you wearing your number 2, that's even better.
That is cool. Yeah.
All right, we'll get off footy for a little bit. So on this podcast, Bing, I know you're a big time listener.
Sure am.
What did you buy with your first footy paycheck? Because there's been lots of feedback from a lot of your friends and teammates that you probably still have your first cent that you made.
Yeah, there's early days. Early days, I was definitely a tight ass. You got to put it in perspective here, Murph, right? So
it's okay. Tell me.
Yeah, you leave school at 17, live with the older brother. Parents aren't there to cook. You got to work. So I had to go into uni, had to work, do some labour, and say, like, mate, every dollar I earned, mate, I wanted to be wise.
It's a farmer's trait.
Definitely
isn't
a farmer's trait. The old man used to always say, you know, you look after your cents, the dollars will look after himself. So
I'll write that one down.
Yeah.
Brad Cripps.
But if you want to talk about money, talk to Brad Cripps. But no, over the years, it's definitely early days. I was definitely a tight ass, without a doubt. I remember like be at the cafe. Someone's like, "Crippa, you get me a coffee?" And in my head, I'm like, "You better buy me one back." Like, yeah, when
I'll jot that one down on my notepad. Yeah.
But now as you get older, you sort of love giving back and giving others. But yeah.
First paycheck. Can you remember? It doesn't have to be necessarily your first paycheck, but your first big buy that, as an AFL footballer, I'm going to really treat myself here.
Mate, I reckon my first paycheck, I just went and bought I spent it all on clothes and shoes.
Probably needed it.
Yeah, definitely. I still remember that story. I went to the cricket with Murph, and we went to a corporate box, and always to say, as an 18, 19-year-old kid from the country, went to boarding school, had one pair of shoes that I wore out or casually.
Didn't even have any shoes on this occasion.
That's Mayo. Anyway, I rock up and Murph's in chinos, boots, collar, and I'm in honestly ripped jean shorts, just a crew neck, and these shoes that have nearly got a hole in the bottom of them. I walked in the corporate box. I've never ever felt more underdressed, and I felt embarrassed. So after that, I definitely went and tried to kit myself out a bit. But yeah, the first paycheck, I spent it all on clothes and shoes. So yeah.
And I know you love your agriculture. You've done a degree in that. You love the stock market. You love counting your money. But no, what does Paddy Cripps do on a day off? Like, what keeps you busy? What do you feel that what gives you energy outside of footy?
I like if I feel like I need to really switch off, I'll go and maybe hit a golf or go for a surf. I'm not good at either, but enjoy getting out and just chatting with a mate or just getting some time in nature. Gives me energy. I just like being around, going out for dinner with mates, like going to the beach. Other than a day off, it depends. Like if it's during the year, I might just get a massage or do some sort of recovery. And then a bit of are you
paying for your massages yet, or has that still been
paying
charged
for
back to the footy club?
Loza, the guru.
She's a guru. She's a champion.
That's a lie, by the way. Loza's the best in the business, so I usually get her once a week. And then just do a bit of study and a bit of off-field stuff that more post-footy, always have an eye on something I like to do. So doing a postgrad in psych at the moment, psychology. So that's definitely a bit tougher than ag business, but that keeps me on my toes. And then, so there's always something going on. I like being busy. And then about 2 days out from the game, I like just to lock in and start focusing.
So your psych course, or I know you do a lot of reading, but you do that as in terms of your mental health, or is that to help your football? Or is it probably both?
That's just a postgrad in psychology. So basically it's the same as an undergraduate psychology degree, but I'm about halfway through that. It's basically, I've got a passion for I want to understand how the brain works, but I love trying to tap in and help people. So I think it's really helped me now because I can sort of not only help myself, but help others around me. But post-footy, I think it's just a degree that the area I sort of want to get into. I don't think I'll be a psychologist, but I'd love to just have that background so you know how to get the most out and build people up. Yeah,
nice. Will you go back to the Wild West, or do you feel that you're locked down in Melbourne now?
No, I think once footy's done, I'll definitely go back home. So, but yeah,
who knows what happens over the next?
Yeah, it's a while away. It's
period.
Still young at 28, mate. Got hopefully another 7-8 years left in me. The pins can keep going.
The pins, they can hold up the upper body. You never know.
The cars, mate.
Now your ball magnets. I know we'll touch on little ball magnets. Tommy Mitchell, obviously running that. Are you an investor, or you're
part owner, mate?
Yeah. building the brand.
Building the brand.
You, Lockie Neal,
Aaron Phillips, Josh Giddy. So,
what's Josh Giddy like?
Yeah, he's a great fella. Yeah, you forget he's only 20, but like he's just a worker, good fella, loves his footy. We're lucky enough to get over to OKC in the off season, and sort of do some drills with him, do some filming over there.
Yeah, cool.
Because randomly the WWE was on the night we were there, so we all went to watch the WWE. So I think Brocky Lesnar got put through the table, which is good viewing. So, but yeah, no, he's a great guy, mate. He's you forget. Like AFL is obviously huge in Australia, but like you go over there, it's just a different world over there. Like he's a gun. Like it's his second year, he's had some amazing numbers. But yeah, he's gonna be a freak. So it's definitely good to have him on and learn off him.
Yeah. Do you have to pinch yourself sometimes the opportunities that come from arising, just by playing AFL football, something that you grew up wanting to do, but just the opportunities that have come from that, and it's all down to your dedication and your hard work that you get these opportunities, but. End of last season, going over to the States and training at Nike headquarters. You go over to New England Patriots, you meet the head owner over there, get put on a show basically for a couple of your mates as well that you grew up with, meeting the late Kobe Bryant, meeting Shaq. Like, do you sometimes have to pinch yourself and think, oh, how good is this?
I always do. It's sometimes you just got to laugh. Like it's because I just see myself as like a kid that grew up in the country, you know what I mean, like on a farm, and it goes so quick. Like I've been in the system 10 years now, and sometimes you just got to sit back and reflect and just take it all in because it just goes so quick. But yeah, mate, it's unbelievable some of the people I've met and the opportunities that arise. And I feel like if you put yourself out there, you work hard, it's amazing. The opportunities that do come. But got to sit down and do a podcast with Shaq, which is cool.
Talk to me about Shaq.
But he's pretty funny. Like he's just he's huge, like a big unit, like the biggest person I reckon I've nearly ever seen. But he had about 3 hours lined up of different people. Sort of we got in, I think we were second, and we found out 20 minutes later he got a bit jet lagged, so he called off everything. So we just got
got him fresh and
got him up and about. The Patriots experience was probably one of the things that I pinched myself. Like I was with two of my best mates from school. One looks like Tom Papley, the other one looks like Adam Treloar. So the first comments in the photo were like, what's Aldi, Papley and Treloar doing with Crippa? So that was pretty funny. But that was, two mates I went to boarding school with 5 years, and we did that trip, and then we met up with Walshy Setters, Fish and Dowie at Nike headquarters in Portland, Oregon. So that was unreal. And then after that, we just did a bit of traveling all over the States for that trip. But just like, I don't know, like even little things, just like it's like you get drafted, mate, and it's like got to play with yourself, Juddy, Gibbsy, Simo, like, and as a kid growing up through your teenage years, that's when you like sort of love footy the most. So I remember one school trip in 2012 when I watched Carlton Collingwood Friday night, round 3, put on a show. I think that's when you pulled the finger to the crowd. But and we walked back from. It was funny. I got a photo that was 2020. The next year I was drafted to Carlton, but walking back from the G to the city that night was just unbelievable. I was a packed G. I think after that, you guys were favourites for the flag. After that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we were. Yep. That was we beat. I think we beat Collingwood by 10 goals.
Yeah, it was 70 points. It's funny how like so. When I'm 18, coming over to a club and just the first few days meeting you guys, that's like you sort of just they're the guys you grew up idolising. So. And then, as you know, you go quick from that to like your 5 years, and then young guys are coming in, excited to meet you. It sort of just happens real quick, which is like it's a weird sort of process. But
next thing you know, you're doing podcasts. Like me, retired.
I know.
Has been trying to ask the great man a few questions about football and life, and talking about experiences with Shaq, and you actually get to meet him and talk to him on a podcast. I just watched him DJ over in Phoenix.
Big Shaq.
Yeah.
Nah, it's cool, mate. So it's it's definitely hope you meet a few more interesting people as the journey goes on and put yourself out there. You just never know what comes your way.
Bloody oath. I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions about a couple of 100 gamers this weekend. So we got Nick Newman and Charlie Curnow both playing their 100th game for the of AFL for Nick, and 100 games for Charlie for Carlton. But two guys that no doubt you love playing with.
Yeah, it's you're both very different the way they go about it. But, both had long-term injuries. So to get 100 games is a huge, huge effort. And I think Charlie he'll get his name on the locker. I don't know how much new he's got to get his name on the locker. But, that is both resilient people, had to look after their bodies. I think Newey's had a great year this year. He's just been that real sort of glove in a way, just like he's been locking down the best opponents, has that real sort of bit of mongrel in him, which, you love seeing, love playing with. And then there's Charlie, who's just, arguably the best player in the competition that can, just rock up and sit on people's heads and kick goals from anywhere. Like he's a freakish talent, but he works really hard on his craft. And I think just I love seeing him, smiling out in the footy field with all the injuries he's been through. So it'd be good to get over the West, good part of the world over there, and try and get a win for both of them.
We've had some good times over there in previous years, Binga, so hopefully someone can do something special at the end of the game again.
Yeah, a couple of bananas. Fisher, clever.
Yeah, or Newsy, kick one from the boundary.
Yeah, that was actually some great wins. So be nice. Hopefully it's not that close. Hopefully we can
do a good number on them.
Yeah, but if it happens to be close, then kick a few snags late. It'd be nice.
Oh, good. I'd like to ask the question of this to everyone I have on the podcast, obviously number 5, but which past Carlton great from any generation would you love to include into this current list at the moment to help you out?
That's a good question.
Get closer to the mic.
I don't know. I reckon be one of the guys from 95. Probably Big Sauce would probably, I reckon, help out Big Weeders a fair bit at the moment, I reckon. He'd be a very handy inclusion. Maybe you on the outside, mate, a couple of handball receives.
Outside, what are you talking about?
Lacing Charlie out.
So it's a good one, I like it.
Yeah.
No, it's been a pleasure talking to you about footy, mate, and about life, and you're an absolute superstar, mate, so hopefully boys can get some wins for you, and never know what can happen on later in the year, but just I'd like to say thanks again to Great Southern Bank for putting this on for us and giving our fans big Paddy Cripps to listen to. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Murph. Binga. Appreciate it.